All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I am going to be reviewing Wherein, the Frozen God. This is book number 3 in Richard Kirk's magnificent, crazy, outlandish 1970s trash fantasy series titled Wherein. Now, maybe you saw my review of book 1, Swords Mistress of Chaos. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It is a great review. Just type in my last name, Durfee, the title of the book. The review will magically show up on your YouTube screen. I also reviewed book number 2, A Time of Ghosts. And now we are to book number 3, The Frozen God. And oh my gosh, is this book just sheer silliness and bloody brilliant fun all rolled into one. Now, let's talk about the covers first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. So, Richard Kirk, the author, is actually a pseudonym for two guys, Angus Wells and Robert Holdstock. Now, Angus Wells and Robert Holdstock are fantasy authors that have had great careers in and of their own right, but they collaborated for this Wherein series under the name Richard Kirk, just so you know. Now, this came out in 1978, and it's got a great cover illustration by Louis Royaux, who did all of the illustrations for all the books. And if we put them all together here, you can just see the whole set. There's only 5 books in the series, but they all look great. They've all got the same cover design. If we turn the spines sideways, they've all got the gray spines like that. So it's just really cool. It's a great little set of fantasy novels. And let's talk about the cover here. I mean, we've got our Raven, our main character, in her chainmail, see-through chainmail armor. That says it all. That's all you really need to know about this book. And then we've got her friend back here in the background. So anyway, 1970s trash fantasy. Well, I mean, this is cheesy 70s sword and sorcery. I mean, if I was to compare it to some sort of cheesy 70s band, I don't know what band that might be. But, I mean, there's pretty much no real depth or allegory or deeper meaning to this book. Kind of similar to certain bands that maybe came out in the 70s. So anyway, this book is like Beastmaster. You remember the old Beastmaster movie? I mean, that was from like the late 70s, early 80s. Or even the Red Sonja or Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This book, to just encapsulate, it's like all those movies rolled into one glorious sword and sorcery cheese fest. Bloody, brilliant, fun, and shockingly well written. I mean, I'm just going to read to you one of the pages. I just thought some of the prose in this was great. So this is just an example of the prose. You would not think that there would be good writing in something like this, but it's absolutely delightful. So, "The wind will come again," he said slowly. "It always does. Ever it blows. And all we mortals may do is await its pleasure, or its wrath. It has blown down all the lonely corridors of time since first we men crawled from the raw stuff of creation to become what we are now. It will blow across our bones when we are gone. It blows now over the bones of other men greater than we, men long gone into the darkness of oblivion." That shit's poetic. I don't care what you say. That is good prose and good writing. Now, Raven herself is our main character. Now, she's an escaped slave. In book 1, she was a slave. She escaped. She turned into a fiery warrior woman, carrying her famed sword. And this sword has been stained with the blood of thousands. And so that's kind of the setup. She's an escaped slave turned warrior woman, like Conan. I mean, it's like Conan, but a girl. And she goes on adventures. And I just wanted you to read this description of her. So you get, just in case the cover didn't explain what she looked like well enough, I want to read this description of her in the book because it is absolutely great. Okay, so this is a description of our main character, and I love the way these writers write descriptions. It's absolutely okay. So the woman was near as tall as the men, lithe and full-breasted, in her shirt of fine woven mail, her hair cascades of gold gleaming red in the firelight as it tumbled about her face to take away a man's breath. So they've already discussed, she's already got the mail on. We can see that. And what I like about this description and the cover is the descriptions the writers have of the girl. The cover artist nailed it exactly, all the way down to the rivets in her armor. So anyway, she wore close-fitting leggings of sleek black skin set unto high boots of soft leather, and about her waist was a belt of bright and deadly throwing stars, the fashion of the Western ex-writers. Yeah, you can see the throwing stars right there. So dope. In addition, I'm easily entertained by this stuff. This stuff just, I don't know why, but I get jazzed about this kind of stuff. Okay, in addition to the stars, she wore a sword girdled of black leather, worked about with silver chasings that matched the filigree decorating her scabbard. And from the scabbard there protruded the golden hilt of a Tyrwand saber, its pommel set with green gemstones. There's a green gemstone on her saber. Like I said, I'm so easily impressed by this. Her arms were bare, save for a silver torque high upon her right arm, and a curious shield that was strapped about her left forearm, molded into the shape of her limb. Yep, she's got that. She's got the torque on her arm. Okay, yes. The lower end extended over her hand, terminating in a point with a sharp edges which, as might be deployed to attack as easily as defense. This device was an Ishkarian sleeve shield, its workmanship further adding to the exotic appearance of her overall bearing. So, I mean, it's just so good. So good. So what is Raven up to in this book? Well, it's about the Frozen God. The Frozen God Tanesh. It's her quest beneath the frozen ice and snow of the north to stop the Frozen God Tanesh from arising from the icy fields and glaciers and destroying the world, much like Sauron tried to destroy the world in Lord of the Rings. So she's got, Raven, our main character, has got a friend named Spellbinder. He's a brooding sort of companion of hers, and he's also her mentor. He's the kind of the one that helped her escape. So he taught her how to be a badass swordsman, but he's there on the cover too. And so these guys have a kind of a fun, playful, antagonistic, are they or aren't they gonna sleep together relationship. Also following Raven is a big black bird that kind of protects her. So she's got her raven animal companion. And her quest is, I mean, Raven is a true badass warrior. Within the feminist, for the feminist generation, nobody's going to know about her because they're going to be turned off by the cover. They're going to be like, oh, misogynist cover. Oh my God. But this warrior woman is probably the most badass of all warrior women, and that doesn't pander to any sort of anything. She's just cool. But nobody will ever read about this because, the covers. I like the covers, but, they're going to turn off a lot of people. They're just going to be like, oh, whatever. You know how people are. People suck. Beyond going into the frozen icy north to battle Tanesh, the Frozen God, there's a side plot. Her main nemesis from book 1, the evil Carl Don Wayne, may be back. She thought she'd killed him in book 1, but he may have arisen from the dead. Now, in a book full of so many cool things and so many cool swords and monsters and fights, and everybody's got a cool name like Raven and Spellbinder, The most evil character is named Carl Don Wayne. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. But I think it might be my most favorite part of this story. The fact that the bad dude is named Carl Don Wayne. Makes no sense in the context of anything else that's going on in this book that someone would be named Carl Don Wayne. Because nobody is named anything like that in this book. I mean, it's full of just really cool fantasy names. And, like Garan, Taiwa, Vol, Kowan, Spellbinder, Dawn, Yiker, Granick, Tanesh, Silver, and Carl Don Wayne. But anyway, that's the basic plot of the thing. So anyway, out of the bonds of slavery rose a beautiful warrior, feared across the land. With her mysterious companion, mentor, Spellbinder, and a great black bird to watch over them, she was invincible. Together they would face the savage butchery of battle and the gathering forces of evil. Deep in the last land of the Quohan, she rode her destiny written in blood-stained ice and carved in the distorted faces of the dead. Along with her loyal companions, she would battle men and demons to challenge her mortal foe, the evil weapon master Carl Don Wayne. While beneath the snow and ice, Tanesh, the frozen god, an enemy of all that lives, is imprisoned. Soon he will be free, and men shall know the horror of true evil. Those are just fun books. Just fun books. I mean, they're great. They're great. They're absolutely perfect little gems in this world of fantasy, and you need to get them because they're so well written. They just are everything that I describe them to be. And I can't recommend them enough. If you get a chance to get these, get them. So Raven, the Frozen God, I give it a 10 out of 10, just like I gave these others. I mean, these are just really cool. All of these are really cool books. They look good together. And they will open your mind to a whole nother set of fantasy ideas that came about in the late 70s. That I like to call 70s trash fantasy.